Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 96. Cain looked warily on at the honey-haired nymph. He distrusted everything he saw within this accursed city. But he would have to play her game if they were to escape. Neither he nor Eddie would get far in the desert without a horse. They would die from thirst within a day, 2 at best under the hot, glaring rays of the sun. Cain stood motionless, waiting for the woman to move first. Eve, was it? Eddie had called her that. After they were well away from here, he could turn the tables at his leisure, should she be stupid enough to follow Eddie along for the journey. That almost made Cain smile. Almost. Wiping the dark stain of blood against the fabric of his garments, he leveled his gaze at her for a moment. Her stony stare met him unflinchingly. He would have to be careful with this one. Kill her once the boy went to sleep. He could wait. "Lead on, then. The sooner we are away from here, the better," Cain said. Eve turned and gestured back the way she had come, towards the high stone doorway which appeared to lead to the inner city. As the 3 of them moved, she stopped next to a strange man, covered in alien robe of brilliant white, with intricate designs drawn in gold that covered its surface. The man's head twitched uncontrollably, unnerving Cain further. The figure's soulless eyes bored deep into his until he looked away. Best that he played the fool until they escaped. He could be gentle as a lamb if needed. He smiled indulgently at the nakedness of the woman's form. Far too crazy for his own taste, but he did not begrudge Eddie for his youth and lack of experience. The woman would have her uses. A quick death would be best. No sense tempting fate in dark magic. She positively reeked of trouble. Maybe he could set her into a trap, exposing one of his own enemies in the process. His mind turned to such matters as he prowled along, climbing an immense set of stone steps in the fading light. Enormous statues met his gaze, their stone husks looming high above the height of any mortal man. Cain suppressed a shiver. He could not show weakness to this abomination. "Stannin," Eddie said, "the temple is wondrous. You will see once we crest this rise. There is a great pool and trees with sweet fruit to eat. I'm starving. We should stop and take our fill, don't you think?" Eddie looked excited. Brushing aside his first impression, Cain kept his silence, waiting to see the bounty for himself as they climbed higher. The boy's spirits seemed to falter, and he fell quiet. The boy would learn not to give away his intentions so easily. It was one of the few cards Cain still held. He loosened his hands and held them near his sides, ready to reach for the shadow blade, should Eve be leading them astray. He, for one, did not believe a word she had said up until this point. There was no reason to trust her. As they crested the rise, lush ferns and ornate vases fell into view. Eve led them around the base of an immense dome, until a large turquoise expanse came into view. The pool glittered like a jewel, its tranquil waters calm and inviting. Cain let loose a breath as he spied the golden fruit that hung low from each bough. Moving ahead, he took one into each of his palms and bit into them, squirting forth juice down onto his chin. The fruit tasted wondrous indeed. Dipping into his water skin, he slaked his thirst and rested beneath one of the trees. A warm wind blew across the branches that wove together into a thicket all around the edge of the opaque waters. He let himself feel the breeze and stopped for a moment to listen. A small buzzing noise was evident, just below the background murmurs of the grove. Cain beckoned to the boy to join him. "Eddie! Take your fill, lad. We'll be leaving soon. We may not get another chance for a stretch." I stepped ahead, not waiting to take my fill. My stomach lurched with hunger. Eve laughed in spite of herself, helpless mirth erupting from her slim form. "Save some for me, Eddie." Eve smiled warmly before stepping behind me. She embraced me, pressing herself to me. I could feel my temperature rise, unable to move for a moment while I caught my breath. "Eve, do you have garments you can take with you?" I could feel her let me go, and the rush of air as she dove into the cool waters. In moments, she was gone. I turned back to Stannon. He cocked his head at me. We've already lost too much time. Standing, he bent down to wash his face in the cool waters before turning back to face me. Don't get attached to her, lad. She will just as soon put a knife in your ribs. Don't forget that. His face was stony, impassive. You did well to survive. You're still soft, but perhaps less so than before. Will you really take me to the great cloud city of Kaibar? Stannon didn't answer for a long moment. Don't worry about that now, lad. Remember our bargain. Obey me in all things, and I will show you some of what I know. Perhaps we will even travel to this great city. His dark eye lingered on me for a moment before turning away, looking over our surroundings. I wanted to believe him, but I knew his allegiances were ever-changing. He owed me nothing. I wanted to think that I had earned some of his trust, but even I wasn't so naive. I nodded to him, placating. This is how he must see me, if I planned to survive long. The truth was cold and hard.